Start recording. Start streaming. Okie doke.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Come on, YouTube. Get my stream up. Come on. Oh.
Let me just open this up. It should give me a notification the moment. Wait, nope, that's Josh's video. God fucking. It's like, oh yes, the notification. Nope, Josh uploaded 11 minutes ago.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Man, the timing just... No, you know what? The timing is perfect. Completely intentional, I promise.
You know what? Yeah, we'll take it as like the sign from God that it more than likely is. I don't know what it means, but...
Most of the signs of God are ineligible. Like, that's...
Lord worketh in mysterious ways, my son.
The whole point is that you don't fucking understand.
Literally.
The Lord is just doing a little bit of trolling. Like, he'll send you signs that have absolutely no meaning just because he wants to see you try and figure it out.
Well, okay, the stream has only just begun. I'm not going to try and get cancelled by religious people. Not today.
I see this as an absolute win.
Right, I'm going to tweet out a thing.
Wait, didn't you already... Oh, yeah, oh, we're going to stream soon. And then, yes, we are now streaming. Finally. GTA 5 for PS3 on the PC.
Hey, don't spoil Matt's video before it's come out.
They didn't know that was Matt's video. You're the one who just spoiled it.
Well, yeah, because I don't want people to think we're the type of people who just say random things in private and think that to be funny. I mean, we are, but...
I mean, to be fair, they can infer that it's an inside joke, but now they know where it's from. Look at what you've done, George. I had no part of this.
It's fine. It's another opportunity for another person to promote.
To be fair, yeah, but when is Matt's video going to come out? Fucking never.
Well, we have no idea, but I can at least get people to, like, subscribe to him beforehand.
I can promise not soon enough. Matt, I know you're watching. Get your video out.
I don't think it's even, like, half done yet, is it?
That's something I definitely don't want to spoil, but probably not half, no, I don't think. Not even close. Then again, I have no idea how long it's going to be, so for all I know, like, fucking, like, it's literally impossible to know right now. We haven't seen his full script. I don't think he's even written the full script.
It's going to be long from what I've seen him say. Anyways, shall we see if we can... Shall we wait for more people to pop in, or shall we just dive right in? I'm
still waiting for that. There's the notification. Alright, let me mute this. We got it. Josh is the very first viewer, as is custom. Delicious.
Ah, Josh, my loyal steed. Faithful to the last.
Yeah. He's a noble steed.
Whatever the hell that means. Alright, we've got the one concurrent viewer who I'm assuming is Josh, and we've got one like who will also be Josh. So
well, to be fair, I think I was the first like, but yeah, there we go, 2 likes, now we got it.
Hell yeah. And you're right, Josh, it should indeed be fun. Alright, you know what, I don't think we've waited ages for other people to, like, jump in before, and I always get, like, way more viewers, like, after the stream than during the actual thing.
That's fair. Having said that, you should probably tag everyone in the Discord.
Oh, good call.
I'm just such a genius. What the fuck, like... You know what? People can say what they will about your content, but no one can say that you don't go hard on the art. I'm just looking at the stream right now, and Jesus Christ. You made this. You made this specifically for this series.
And don't you remember the Doctor Who Flux stream I did with Shik that we only did one of, and I redrew, like, his avatar for that as well.
Oh yeah. Shik did Shik have an avatar? Like, Matt made him one, right?
Making him a new one, but his old one he got from someone else, like, years ago, because that's an old avatar.
Wasn't his old one just a fucking character creator? Like,
it might have been, yeah.
Like, hang on, going to Shik's channel. If I can even fucking find it. Probably not. Shik is gonna, like, burst into our DMs like, "Hey, yo, you talking shit?" Oh no, this looks like a character creator, but it's still his old profile picture, so I have no idea what his new one's gonna look like. He gives us bangers, though, like You Say Run goes with everything. Goku, Frieza, Android 17 versus Jiren.
He is indeed a man of culture. We can say that.
He really is.
Alrighty, you know what? Let's just get into
it. Let's fucking get into it. Right. You give us an intro, and then we can talk about the episode.
Of course. So hello everyone, welcome back. We're talking some more Rick and Morty Season 6 with your boy, EmperorZarikar. He's here, he's queer, get used to it.
I could refute that, but fuck it, I don't have the energy. Let's just talk about Rick and Morty.
Hell yeah. Before we do, I just got a couple things to say. First of all, I know that there's been a good lack of videos for the last couple of months, but my next one is going to be my review of The Power of the Doctor. We've obviously had Jodie Whittaker's Regeneration, so I'll be reviewing that soon, so get excited. Secondly...
Spoilers!
Secondly, your boy here, EmperorZarikar, has also uploaded a video within the last few days. It's basically...
Oh yeah, I did, didn't I?
Yeah, it's a response video to a pretty trash take about Squid Game, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, his channel is linked in the description, you can swing on by. Also, our friend, your boy Josh, has uploaded a video literally minutes ago.
Fucking 15-20 minutes ago.
Yeah, about Battle for Bikini Bottom, and if you want to see that, you can just hop on over to my channel and hit the featured channels box, he'll be in there. And that's all I had to say for now. So, Night Family and Final DeSmithnation. We're going to start off with Night Family because we're doing...
Chronological order.
Yeah, we're doing two at once again because it just took us a while to get around to this, to be blunt. I mean, thank God for the mid-season hiatus, I guess.
Yeah, we really got saved by the bell on this one. Like,
just a little bit, yeah.
Like, we were falling so far behind, and, like, God, like, I want to just rewind and flashback to us before. I think we actually said this on stream where we were like, "Oh, this is so good. It's looking like we're not going to get a mid-season hiatus this time. Oh, this is going to be great." Like, I'm pretty sure we said that publicly, and now I am so thankful that we were wrong, and so thankful that, like, our hopes were spit in the face of, because this mid-season break gives us so much time to catch up, because we are not good at staying on schedule.
Oh, we're definitely not. But hey, like, at least we are getting it done. Like, at least we didn't just give up. We are continuing. Yeah. At the very least.
It's not about perfection. It's about sticking through to the end.
Yeah, exactly. Better late than never. It's just that the fact that, like, the reason why I was certain there wouldn't be a mid-season hiatus is because those always happen after episode 5. But we got episode 6 when we'd have expected it to. So I just assumed it would carry on.
Well, also, like, multiple seasons have been in production for, like, a while. Like, they got contracted to make a fuck ton of seasons a while ago, which would theoretically mean less fucking, like, writing room and production problems. Like, less bullshit, basically, which means less reason for a mid-season hiatus. And it's just, goddamn.
Exactly.
It happened anyway. At this point, I think they're doing it just to fuck with us.
Well, like, it's especially since, like, they've started, like, making sure they can get a season out every year. Like, literally, they were working on season 7 when season 5 was coming out. They're working on season 8, probably making a start on season 9 now, which is mad to think about.
Jesus Christ. They'll always be drawing it. It will not always be the same thing, but they'll always be drawing it.
Which is mad as well, because, like, we're fast approaching the production of season 10, and I think with the amount of episodes they were due to make, I think that's meant to be the last season 10. Unless they get renewed for more, in which case... Ain't it mad that next year Rick and Morty is going to be a decade old? That's nuts.
Rick and Morty, 100 years.
Well, a 10th of 100 years.
Yeah, it's a start. It ain't much, but it's a start.
So let's just do it. Let's just delve right in. I'm going to hand it over to you first. So obviously we're talking Night Family first. Overall, Zarek, what did you think?
Okay, Night Family, delicious. Like, hang on, let me just...
Oh god, please don't slurp on my stream. Please don't.
I'm sorry, I needed to prepare myself for how delicious this fucking episode was. In a couple weird ways. Because Night Family is not funny.
Right.
It's a very lukewarm take. There's nothing really new here. It's just not a very funny episode because there's not a lot of jokes. And, like, the things that kind of seem like jokes, like that horrid scene with the dirty plate, like, it's more, like, horror-inducing than it is funny. But it does horror really well. And not horror as in, like, it actually scares you. Like, there's one jump scare and it's only kind of effective. But horror as a stylistic choice, like horror as an art form, like the horror is flavor to the actual story. And the story is a battle of wits between people who aren't really able to directly interact because everyone sleeps at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't necessarily know how. Like, Summer probably just fell asleep. Like, and that's why they like Summer consumed the LL fruit, like did not do her job. Or maybe she just deep down, like, as she got more tired, the night person's like personality came more to the forefront. It's like, you know what? Fuck Rick. Am I right? I'm tired. Fuck him. And that resentment just made her fall asleep. Which that's probably the best part of the episode, Summer's character development, because almost everything that Night Summer has against Rick is a direct response to Rick treating her like shit in previous episodes. So we can literally see in real time the manifestation of Summer's character development and honestly, like, downward spiral that's been in the back of her mind, but not enough for her to speak up about it. Like, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, Rick, your opinion means very little to me. Like, that's a direct quote of what he says to her in, I think it was the episode where Morty has a son, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but,
I want to say it's definitely season 1. It's definitely early on, isn't it?
It's early on, yeah, but that is something Rick, like, directly said to Summer, and I think it was only to Summer, your opinion means very little to me.
Yeah.
And for Rick, that was just a one-off thing. He says he talks to everyone like that, but for Summer, like, apparently she just is not the type of person to let that roll off.
Like, it clearly stuck with her, and that's really interesting. I'm really, really glad you brought that up.
There was another direct quote from Rick that, like, she repeated. I can't remember exactly what it was. Your opinion means very little to me was, like, the one that stuck out more that I remember better, but there was at least one more. So there's at least two instances of that.
Yeah. I also can't remember what it was, but I remember it was something like along those similar kinds of lines. It was like a similar thing to that, like when Night Summer parroting like an old Rick quote that was at Summer when she's like in when she's the one controlling Summer's body, and it's very interesting. Like I say, I'm really glad you brought that up.
Like, the resentment is very clear, and it kind of makes sense because Summer, like, here's the thing. Morty's subconscious is dominated by other shit, okay? Yeah. Morty, on a subconscious level, probably doesn't think about Rick that much because, like, most of the shit that he associates Rick with is just wacky adventures, right?
Yeah, that and the fact that, like, literally the entire arc of this entire show has become Morty, like, getting so used to, like, Rick's antics that he's just kind of become jaded to it at this point. So that is, like, that's natural. That makes sense.
Beth, on the other hand, her night person doesn't have a lot of, like, her night person really does not have a lot of revealing character moments, or I guess, like, the only one would be when she's choking Jerry and he gets an erection and she's like, she's just disdainful, which means, like, I don't know, unsatisfied with Jerry in the bedroom or something, like, and she buries that deep down, or, like, doesn't like doming, but we also know she does like doming because, like, of literally an episode ago.
Yeah.
Or at least one episode ago.
It was, yeah.
I think it was, one episode ago, yeah, so yeah, that's a little weird.
Episode 3, yeah.
Yeah, I don't, like, dropped the ball on Beth. Jerry, on the other hand, his relationship with his night person was just fucking great.
It was really wholesome, yeah, and, like, that's what I said while we were watching the episode, like, a lot of, like, the issues people have had with Rick and Morty when it gets kind of bad and the quality kind of falters is, like, people being out of character, like, character inconsistencies. But when it comes to that sort of thing and, like the portrayals of the characters, they've never faltered on Jerry. Like, they've always been able to nail Jerry's character, and that was classic Jerry. And I think the fact that it's what ended up saving the day is really cathartic.
Yeah, like, just, I'm on your side. I'm on your side.
Yeah.
Like... And his last-ditch effort at the end to, like... This is spoiler-filled, by the way. His last-ditch effort at the end to fucking, like... just negotiate with Rick. Because at the end of the day, Jerry resents Rick a lot. Jerry and Rick, especially early on, have an adversarial relationship. But this is proof that deep down, truly deep down, Jerry just wants to fucking negotiate with the guy. He wants to be able to coexist. It's just really fucking hard.
Yeah, like we've seen it before. Like, we know that, like, Jerry does have his problems with Rick, and there is, like, an underlying level of resentment there. Like, we saw it in, like, season 3, like, Whirly Dirly Conspiracy, the whole, like, you piece of shit, you took my family. Like, we know that there is a lot of baggage there, but we can also, like, again, he's
grown past it, and at his core, he actually does just naturally hate conflict. And yes, that makes him a pussy and a pushover, but it also makes him a fundamentally good person.
Yeah.
And we get to see that directly and literally in the light through his night person, which is a little ironic. There's also the idea, the mass suicide at the end, and also the idea that Rick is just so fucking stubborn and petty that he's not does not want to do. Literally, it's not even about the dishes. It's really just he wants to have the slaves. He just wants to treat them like slaves. He just likes like fucking having power over something. Like,
it's weird.
I don't know if this is necessarily out of character for Rick, but it's definitely one facet of his character that has been sent up to 11. Sorry, the tea is really getting to my lungs.
That's all right.
It's an aspect of his character that's been cranked up to 11 and then 12 and then 1200. Like, it just does not, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why is he this like? Presumably, he was at least kind of doing dishes like up to this point.
Yeah, that's the
like. I guess he's scared of the escalation. Like he's afraid. He's afraid that like, oh, if we give an inch, they'll take a mile, and then they'll really seize the day. So like he was trying to stop what ended up happening anyway.
Yeah,
but if that was the case, it was not communicated well.
Wait, hang on. Oh no, my audio fucked up. One sec. Stupid fucking headphones.
Damn.
Alright, I can hear you again. Cool, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that stuff up because, and that's the thing, we've got like decent amount of stuff to say about this one clearly, so we're definitely going to be jumping back and forth. Like, there's not going to be any like sort of chronology to this. We're kind of just going to be saying whatever's on our mind. But like, yeah, that was the kind of thing that did stick out to me, and I remember saying to you during the episode. It's not necessarily that Rick's out of character, it's more just that like his character is greatly exaggerated because like obviously
it's warped.
Yeah, because we know that obviously, you know, Rick, smartest man in the universe. Like I was saying this to you while we were watching it. Like you'd think that Rick would see the potential problems from like not giving the Night family what they want coming a mile away, especially when even like Jerry is pointing out the fact that like it literally takes 2 seconds. Like you don't, it just seems like the kind of thing that Rick would also be like easily know to try and avoid. There's also like obviously him buckling to Summer just from, you know, her sighing. And it's interesting because obviously, I mean, you brought up like how early on in the show, like Rick clearly valued Summer very little, but she's very clearly like definitely gone up in his estimations throughout the show. Like we know that we're at a point where like Rick does value Summer. We've gotten to a point where like every now and again like she'll pull something off and Rick is like genuinely really impressed with her and he's not afraid to express it. But it's just the fact that, again, like there's a clear reason why Rick said, no, only I get a night person, this technology can be too dangerous. But then that one thing is what sends Rick over the edge to, like, be like, you know what, yeah, fuck it, we can all have a night person. And the other thing I'm going to bring up, too, is that we know that, like, politically Rick's, like, very, like, libertarian, like, almost to a point of being an anarchist in a way. So you'd think that, like, he would see the flaw in literally wanting to keep slaves, because there's no doubt about this.
It's just software to him.
Well, yeah, like, but also like there is no doubt about this at all in any way. The Night People are sentient. They are their own entities. They are their own people. So you'd think that Rick would have a lot more of a problem with like literally creating these slaves to only exist as slaves. It's different to somewhere like the Meeseeks, where it's like they want to do what they're told and then they want to die. These people are clearly very sentient and have their own free will and their own goals. So I do
have a counter for that.
Right.
Yes, like he would prefer a Meeseeks, a completely willing slave, and he typically like is very like libertarian. But I feel like he has levels of legitimacy when it comes to whether or not you have rights, and it depends on like your convenience to him. Like he was like, nah, man, break the laws. They shouldn't exist anyway. And that was the next episode. But he only said that because he was now on the good side of those people he was talking to. You got to keep in mind, this is the same Rick that created sentient life with the purpose of passing butter.
That is true. That is true. It's just...
You pass butter.
Like...
It's just called passing butter.
I feel like that's one thing, like... That's one thing, and this is another thing, though, because, again, there is no debate about the fact that these Night People are their own sentient people. rather than like a robot Rick Bill or something like that. So to literally advocate for wanting to keep people as slaves, again, it kind of works with what the premise of the thing is, but like it just didn't feel. It's not necessarily out of character for Rick. I'm not sure, but it's definitely like, come on, Rick, surely you can see the problem with this, you know.
Smartest man in the universe, but he's also the most petty man in the universe.
Yeah.
And so as a result, like when shit like, I feel like it's not even like, if Rick saw this happening outside of his own family and his own sphere, I feel like he would have freed the Night People just cause.
Probably.
Right? Or at the very least, like, if it was inconveniencing him without, like, being a direct affront to him, he would have just fucking found a way to split the Night People from the Day People and had them just live independently.
Yeah.
But because these were his Night People, he felt slighted, and that was enough for him to just turn off any version of morality he might have running, because his ego was slightly wounded because they wanted him to do a dish.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, I could buy the fact that it's not necessarily like, oh, Rick just wanting to keep literal people as slaves. I'm more just like...
he's just being petty. He's being really petty.
Like the fact that his Night People had the gall to like ask him to do something, like pushed his ego over the edge and pissed him off. So he's being like, nah, fuck you. So in that sense, it's like, again, I don't know if I'd go as far to call it out of character for Rick, but like I say, it's definitely like a stretch, you know.
It is a stretch. It's not out of character, but it's in character in a way that is warped. It is wonky. It is wacky.
Yeah, it's warped enough to service the plot, like for the plot to hinge on. But to be fair, I can kind of look past that because, like we guess we're talking in more general terms about the episode now. The plot is good. It's a good idea.
It's a good Battle of Wits episode, and it has a great culmination. Like, the final fight scene was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Just everyone knocking each other out and waking themselves back up, and like just the infinite loop they were almost caught in. And the implication that, like, deep down, Summer's Night Person, which is like, your true self, like the subconscious, like, it's a similar vibe to the toxic split in Rest and Relaxation, I think it was.
Yeah.
Like, it's a similar vibe to that, only less like what you see as toxic and more just like what you don't outwardly show that is deep down, right? Like, which isn't more you, it's just the version of you that, like, you don't use as much, so it has to go somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the dormant, like, short/long-term memory you know? And, like, the idea that, like, Summer has the capability, like, Summer is naturally submissive, but wants to be dominant, and that, like, that dom energy has to go somewhere. Like, that leader energy has to go somewhere, so her Night Person just, like, translates that into hating Rick because Rick is usually top dog. And that's probably why Night Rick is so passive, because Rick is always fucking, like, he tries really hard to be dominant in everything in his life. He does not have a passive mode. So his Night Person would be the most passive.
I was going to bring up something else, but, like, I will get back onto that because that is a really interesting point. You mentioned the fight/chase scene. Another thing that was really, like, it was entertaining about that, but it's also kind of like, okay, weird, alright. Like, the weird, like, visual gags that take place throughout the fight, but that also, like, service the fight. Like how, for example, when a lot of them are asleep, they fully, like, crash a truck that just happens to be going by that's full of Adderall to, like, wake themselves up. Like, just stuff like that. And, like,
just like that is, like, I feel like it was a very grounded story, so they just introduced all of the wacky that you would expect in a Rick and Morty episode in that one fight, and I am here for it.
Yeah, and, like, for example, another example is, like, the car crashing into the gasoline factory, which explodes next to the dynamite museum, which explodes next to the dry leaf storage place that also explodes.
It's also the fact that preceding that, like, that would have been avoided if Summer didn't make the stupid decision to jump out of her perfectly working vehicle.
Yeah.
Just because Night Jerry convinced her to jump out. It's like, why would I do that? I'm in this functioning vehicle. And he's like, well, family. And she's like, fair enough. What's the worst that could happen? That's the worst that can happen.
Yeah, it definitely made the scene, like, a little bit entertaining. Although it does kind of have the feel of, like, maybe they had the thing originally and they were like, this is kind of boring, so I'll tell you what, let's just kind of go balls to the walls and just throw some random chicanery in there for some laughs.
You have not seen Better Call Saul. You're not allowed to use that word.
It's on the list, and it's a good word. It's a fun word to say.
It is a very fun word, but still, you gotta watch Better Call Saul, man.
Oh, I absolutely do. But yeah, back to the other thing you brought up. This is something that I was going to say when talking about the episode more generally. Earlier on, you said the word lukewarm, and at first, like on first viewing, that was like the way that I described this episode. Like, while the plot was good, like a really good concept, it kind of didn't go too far out there with it. It just kind of felt like an average lukewarm, just kind of, you know,
It worked for what it was,
something that's
but
yeah,
on second watch through, got way better.
Yeah, and I'll tell you for why. It was the stuff that you were bringing up. Like, this episode feels like an attempt to like do like a really interesting character study on some of our characters. Like I mean, you brought this up already, like the character development for Summer and the implications of it, like the fact that I think it was Night Summer who said that she's something that's been hiding inside your granddaughter for years, or whatever the quote was. Like the implication that like there is a part of Summer deep down who's just been waiting to rise up against Rick and like subjugate him in a way. Like that is really interesting.
Summer, like, well, here's the thing. It almost goes. It's really an extension of Bethic Twinstinct, because what was the point of Bethic Twinstinct other than Jerry getting fucking cucked? Everyone wants some level of control. And the family in that episode felt like they had no control. And I feel like what we just watched, which came right after that episode, is an extension of that, telling us that Summer, this is nothing new for Summer. Summer has not felt in control in a while. I mean, think about the character that we're talking about. She was literally just the fucking, like, high school wannabe socialite girl, and that was her entire character. And the only time she got development was when she decided she wanted to fucking kill people in a post-apocalyptic Mad Max world.
Yeah.
I feel like, as far as, like, if we're getting really meta, she is a character who typically, in the greater brand of Rick and Morty, isn't very important, and that's gotta suck. She's not along for adventures, like, more than 50% of the time. More often now, but still less than 50% of the time. Like, so yeah, it would make sense. Like, imagine being the older sibling to some kid that your god grandpa just takes on adventures constantly.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I'd want some control in my life back too.
Exactly, that shit would suck. And I think that's a really, really interesting angle to lean in. Well, I mean, that was interesting anyway, but what's really, really interesting, you're gonna hear me saying that word a lot, is like, again, the way that they're doing it. Like, they're sort of, you know, really delving into the psychology of Summer by unearthing those hidden layers and letting them bubble up to the surface. Like, Night Summer and her, like, you know, ruling the family and subjugation of Rick, that's a very clear, like, window into something dark within Summer that I have a feeling we're going to see start rising up a lot more. And it makes a lot of sense, because for the same reasons of literally everything you've described, it has precedent to it. Like, we've seen that Summer has a lot of potential, but Rick often just kind of ignores that and blows that off, and there's clearly going to be a lot of resentment there as well. And it's so interesting because it's obvious that if Rick and Morty ever does end and there is like an actual series finale, the villain is definitely going to be an evil member of at least one family member, but they're really putting in the groundwork to make sure that, like, we can really be right up until the end of the show guessing who that's going to be. Like, it could very easily be an evil Summer, evil Jerry, evil Morty, evil Rick, like evil Beth even. Like, it's just as likely to be pretty much all of them.
If the trend holds true. To be fair, the trend has only been, like, going for 2 characters so far. But if the trend holds, I'm hoping we get evil Jerry, who's just a version of Survival Jerry, like OG Jerry, who, like, his version of Rick Prime did take him up on the offer, and then he actually kills Rick Prime, but is just as capable by the end.
Yeah, like, Jerry and Summer are definitely, like, the biggest candidates. Like, we do know that evil Morty's going to come back at some point, but I genuinely don't think they'll use him for, like, the finale of the whole show. I think it's more, he might be a part of it, but I do think he's going to end up taking a bit more of a back seat. But I don't think I even necessarily agree that that's only been done for 2 characters, because I'd say that Beth is also a very likely candidate. I mean, I think back to season 3 with the ABCs of Beth, that she's got a lot of violence in her, and like a lot of her arcs over the series have been like
True, but we haven't gotten an actual evil Beth. The closest thing we have to that is Clone Beth, who is arguably, like, she's just Star Wars. She's just doing a Star Wars.
Yes, but like it has shown that within the right conditions, you can end up with a Beth that is very jaded and gives much less of a shit than the regular Beth. And there is a lot of reason that a hypothetical evil Beth would have to become a full-on villain. We do know that there is a lot of potential.
It's still hypothetical right now, though.
Yeah, of course.
Like we still only have 2 fully evil characters, well, evil mirror characters, that is, of our family that we're looking at, but like also like
well, we do also have Rick Prime.
We also
as
have,
well.
But no, that's what I mean. We have 2 evil versions of our family's characters, and one of the family members just happens to be kind of evil by default. But that doesn't mean we've seen an evil version of them like that. Like, so we have 2.5 right now. We have 2 and maybe a third.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like the groundwork is being set up for a potential evil version of them to be able to rise up, because we're seeing how and why that could possibly happen. Is more what I mean.
Yeah, like this might, like this episode we're talking about now might just be proto evil Summer, and we're gonna get proto, like we to be fair, if we're talking groundwork, we've also got proto evil Jerry.
That's what I was referring to. Yeah, like when you said 2 characters, I honestly thought you were referring to Summer and Jerry.
No. I'm referring to characters that like we already know have evil versions of them. So we have evil Morty and evil Rick. Well, evil Rick seems a little redundant, but
yeah, like Rick.
We have
Prime,
evil
Rick
Morty
Prime.
and we have Eye Patch Morty and Rick Prime. But those are the only 2 confirmed, full-on nuts to butts evil characters that we actually have.
Yeah.
Whereas like we also have 2 potential like concepts that could be expanded upon later. We have something kind of like an evil Summer and something kind of like an evil Jerry.
Yeah.
And like maybe like those are just prototypes for what we'll get later on, but like there's no way to know at the moment.
Oh, of course not.
Right now, I'm not even like interested in like theorizing that far ahead, because I'm more interested. Like Rick Prime is a great fucking character. Like it really does feel like they're just. I know we're getting redundant because I think I already said this in the previous stream, but it really does feel like they're just trying again with their evil character arc, and just making it actually like unironic. Like, yeah, no, he's just evil and it's fun. Look at it.
God, like, even though, again, it's really redundant because, like, we obviously have no idea what's going to happen, I can really imagine a full-on, like, Evil Morty versus Rick Prime episode.
That'd be pretty dope.
That'd go super hard. But yeah, so back to Night Family. It's interesting because, again, simple but good concept in a way that's like does it in a really lukewarm way. There's really not a lot to it, and I first thought of it as quite an average episode, to be honest. But upon the rewatch, noticing the little character beats, especially when it comes to Summer, well, much more specifically when it comes to Summer, and all the implications of that is what makes it truly much more interesting on rewatch, and makes me really curious for how they're going to follow on with Summer going forward, because again, a lot of groundwork's being set up here, and a lot of implications about, you know, what's hiding deep down within Summer, and like we know the precedent for it, we know why she'd be feeling like that. So it's just really interesting, to be honest. Like, whether or not you can like hinge appraisal of the entire episode as a whole on that is a whole other discussion. But it at least means that the episode like has some intrinsic value that's going to be. I think it's going to make more future rewatches even more interesting as well, to see what else there is to pick up on, which is weird because I remember after having first seen it, and then thinking about, like, I might rewatch some Rick and Morty Season 6 episodes. Night Family was pretty low on the list in terms of ones I wanted to revisit. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, same. Like, when Night Family first, like, because we watched it earlier, and then rewatched it in preparation for this, but when we actually, like, started rewatching it, I was like, oh, God, Night Family's first. Like, that one was kind of mid. I don't want to rewatch this, but I'll do it because we need the refresher. Way better on second viewing. And I said it's not a funny episode, and for the most part that's true, but there are 2 jokes that really stand out, and just the indestructible dishes, goated. Just that whole sequence was fucking hilarious. Like, you owe me. Like, you think Rick is like creating this weapon to destroy the Night Family. He's like, there's only one solution to this. I need to go and like get a new Thor hammer. I need to get fucking what was the axe called in Endgame? Or not Endgame, Infinity War. It was fucking...
no clue. Couldn't tell you.
I can't remember. Like, anyway, like, I'm gonna make this, like, fucking god weapon, but no, it's just fucking dishes, as if he thinks that's gonna be the solution, and there's not gonna be, like, it was super funny, but also huge L for Rick's, like, foresight. Like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna make indestructible dishes. I'm sure they're not gonna escalate it in other ways. Like, what the fuck were you expecting to happen?
That was such a great scene. Like, just midst of the episode, we see Rick just duck the fuck out and go to this, like, the place that it was really fucking atmospheric, actually, wasn't it? Like, the episode took on...
It was like a trash world, but, like, the episode, super trash.
Like, during the sequence, the episode took on, like, a whole other different tone, but, like, it wasn't tonal whiplash at all, because it was, like, again, the juxtaposition, like, was part of the joke.
It was funny.
It was just executed so well. And I don't know I know you said there was 2 jokes. I don't know if this is the one that you were going to bring up, but for me, like, I find the Rick and Morty ab stuff hilarious. That was really funny. Them just being obsessed with their newfound just abs. I love that.
I didn't find it very funny, but I did find it was more like it made me smile more than it made me laugh.
Yeah.
I didn't find it funny, but I did find it endearing. Like, it was a happiness kind of funny. Like, yeah, they're being stupid. It's what they do. It's like looking out the window and seeing your children playing, you know? It's like, it doesn't make you laugh, but it does make you smile.
That's what I can agree on, yeah. It's less more like, oh, this show is comedy genius, and more just like, oh, look at these characters I love just being fucking goofballs, you know?
Yeah, look at them being stupid. Like, it's great. The one that actually made me laugh that was funny that I was referring to was just Jerry's erection.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Nightbeth just starts strangling him and he just gets hard.
Oh my god, yeah, absolutely.
Great progression from the previous episode. Like, he is into that.
While we're talking about, we were earlier talking about, like, the character stuff on the character beats, and while I brought up Rick and Morty's abs thing, the podcast, like, that's very in character for Rick and Morty. That's totally something they do. Like, they get these newfound, like, top tier fucking sexy-licious abs that are, like, and they're just
so
like,
just
you know
fucking,
what?
Like, flex them.
They're just like, you know what? We're making these abs our whole personalities now. We're doing a podcast about it. We're gonna flex, and it's gonna be awesome. That's so.
It's also like it's. To be fair, there is some, like, comedy genius here because it's the you have to have a very high IQ to understand the subtlety of this joke, but podcasts aren't fucking visual, so no one can see their abs. They're just claiming to have abs, and people are listening to it.
It's an ab-centric podcast. It's literally just discussing abs and everything ab-related. It just makes me want to be like... It makes me want to be able to listen to it, because I'm like, how are you getting, like, a weekly hour of content out of the concept of abs?
They're Rick and Morty, man. They're a dynamic duo. They could talk about nothing for hours.
I wonder if Justin Roiland would ever be interested in doing, like, an actual Rick and Morty podcast as them in character. I wonder if that's ever a thing that he'd do.
It'd probably be something he'd want to do, but, like, he'd probably get so... Because he'd literally just be talking to himself for an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd get exhausting real fast.
That is true, but it would bring back, like, a nice element of, like, improvisation to Rick and Morty dialogue, which we've been sorely missing for a good few years now.
Yeah, where's interdimensional cable?
Honestly, interdimensional podcasts.
Interdimensional podcasts is just people... To be fair, I feel like what makes interdimensional cable great is that it basically is just an interdimensional podcast of people just, like, riffing, like, random ideas.
This is all improvised, yeah.
The fact that there's actual visuals to it and it has actual production value behind it is what makes it so good. Like,
yeah.
Let's get back to the brothers because they have a strong bond. You don't want to hear about it here, but I'll tell you one thing. The moon, it crashes into the earth. And what do you do then? It's like you actually see the moon fucking destroying the earth.
It's 2 brothers... And yeah, it's two brothers.
It's 2 brothers, grandma, zombie, aliens, moon, two brothers. It's just called 2 brothers. We should probably talk about the next episode. It's 2 episodes.
Well, I've still got another thing to bring up about Night Family, and I'm actually, it's why I'm glad you not long ago brought up the scene where Rick goes and gets the plates.
Right.
It's something about, like, I don't know if how they've stepped up the animation budget for the new seasons, but, like, A lot of the episodes, and especially this one, they look fucking gorgeous now, don't they? Like that, the scene, like that scene where he goes and gets the place, like that was awesome to look at. It looked beautiful. It was really cool, like visually.
The scene where where he's tied down and staring at all the night people who are like staring him back, like the fact that their teeth and eyes are the only like sources of light, is a pretty common trope in like horror stuff to make something more eerie. But it's done so well. Like, tropes are there for a reason, and they can be executed correctly. This was a correct execution. Again, it didn't make me scared like good horror should, but it, like, I can appreciate the art behind the objective of unease.
Exactly, yeah. Like, I can appreciate how, well, that's another scene that, once again, it looked awesome. The lighting, the shading, like, the way their faces were drawn in that scene. Absolutely stellar. It looked amazing. And we brought up the fact that this episode isn't all that funny. I can let that slide because of the horror aspect. Not just because it's Rick and Morty doing horror, it's because they're doing something different and they're rolling with it. And
more
it's created,
suspense.
Yeah, and it's created this like really unique tone for a Rick and Morty episode that makes it feel like a much more unique watch, even if the episode itself is a little bit milk and toast for the most part.
If you're into suspenseful battles of wits, then this will probably be your favorite episode of Rick and Morty. And that doesn't mean that like other episodes are bad. It's just this episode does a certain type of thing really well, and I feel like it deserves respect for that. Like, it's not what people would normally come to Rick and Morty for, which is probably why our first impression was mid, only okay.
Yeah.
But like, no, like it deserves respect, and you know what? It has my respect.
Absolutely, I can agree. I honestly didn't think we'd have a lot to say about that episode before going into this. I'm surprised. Like, we're already 41 minutes into the stream. I did not think we'd get that much time out of that episode, genuinely.
Like, we love... I can't even remember what the episodes... Rick and Morty episodes are impossible to fucking remember for me. I don't know why, man.
Well, I'll tell you. We're on to final DeSmithnation. Fortune cookies. Jerry no sex mum. Sarek, what did you think?
Oh, I'm starting it off again. Okay.
Why not?
This episode is just really funny. Complete opposite of the previous episode. It's a very, very, very funny episode. Like, just every joke lands. Fucking Beth's deadpan, like, doesn't give a shit about, like, Jerry's anxiety over this, because why would you? It's a fucking fortune cookie. He shouldn't be stressing over it. But she's not bullying him for it at first. She's just like, listen, if it'll make you feel any better and you could do it quietly, just go throw up. Like, that's good. In character, like,
she's not being a bitch. She's just done with his bullshit.
Yeah. And yeah, she's not being a bitch about it. She's just like, it was the correct response, right?
Yeah.
But then just the fucking tormenting of Jerry from the whole family is one hilarious.
Summer, yeah.
Well, even Beth is laughing along with it by the end.
Well, true.
But by the end, what makes this episode, outside of just being really funny, and it's hard to talk about like how humor lands. Like, we can talk about some of our favorite jokes, but there are just so many of them that, like, what are we gonna say? Like, that waste of time. Just watch the episode and laugh, dude. Like, you don't need us to tell you that something's funny. But as far as like character interaction and development, what makes this episode character-wise way better than the previous one, at least for Rick is based. Rick is fucking based in this episode, and I will tell you why. Like, he is so morally consistent in this episode. Like, yeah, I hate Jerry, but also, like, he understands, like, he knows everything, right? Or almost, he knows everything, practically speaking. So he, like, the concept of being irrationally afraid of something, while he might experience it on some level, he experiences it from the perspective of someone who exists outside of irrational fears. Like, yes, he's afraid of pirates, as we know, but also, like, he knows that pirates can't defeat him. So he has a unique perspective on irrational fears. And that's that everyone has the right to take whatever they want seriously, because the smartest man in the universe believes in free will. What do you know?
Yeah, like, and that's something that was like genuinely really wholesome to see, and like the fact that Rick genuinely like just didn't want to see Jerry suffer and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna help you." Like, to be fair, it was more likely because he knew that this shit had like god powers, and he was certain it was something to do with him, so he wanted to get in on it. But again, like he put in the genuine effort to make sure to save Jerry from that.
Well, not even that. Even if you ignore like the part of the episode where Rick's just trying to harness the god powers, he still scanned him with the probability. Like he still got the probability gun out for Jerry.
Yeah, exactly.
He could have gotten any other fake gadget gizmo out and just told them the same excuse, and it would have worked. But he got it out for Jerry because on some level, even if it was purely out of pity, which I guess is Jerry's MO and it even works on Rick, but even if it was purely out of pity, he respected Jerry in that moment.
Yeah.
And like that, it's just fucking based, dog. Like, it is as based as it gets because he hates Jerry. He fucking hates Jerry.
He does, and I'm really glad that despite that, him helping him didn't feel like out of character for it. Like it was still tastefully done. Like it's still within the realms of Rick would do this, and like because it's the effort is put in to make sure like we know why it is that Rick would get invested in this. Like that effort is put in. Like we know that Rick. I mean, like you said, for reasons that we know, Rick wouldn't want to see Jerry bullied about that sort of thing. And we know that, like, again, some weird shit's going down on Earth. He's going to want to investigate it. That's what, again, I said this to you while we were watching it. Rick kind of felt like the Doctor in this episode. Like, he saw that some, like, shit was going down that was potentially causing some people harm, especially Jerry. And, like, he just wanted
Jerry.
And just wanted to get in there and stop it. And, like, I think that's the main thing I can say about this episode. Like, yeah, if you probably tried to pick it apart and put it under a lot of scrutiny, then it probably would start to falter. But, like, the thing is, it was just fun. It was just a fucking fun episode. Like,
goddamn, fucking... Again, the level of based that Rick is for the entire episode, especially later, when he's like, I'm gonna let you live because your power sucks. Like,
yeah.
One, funny as shit, but also just, of course he would. These guys they're just getting a paycheck. They have nothing against him, and he has nothing against them.
That's an interesting thing, actually. I don't know who wrote this episode. I'd need to go and check, but like this episode had something that like can feel missing from Rick and Morty in recent years, and when it is done, it often doesn't feel like it's being done the best. This one had a lot of really good one-liners. Did you notice that? There was a lot of really good one-liners in this one.
Yeah, like fucking goddamn. Like the one-liners were really fucking good for the whole episode, especially from Rick. And just I love Rick, man. I love Rick in this episode specifically, just especially when he's like he's initially deconstructing the fucking old man. It's like, I don't think that's a sentient animal, which is a little weird because you would think something that consumes and digests chaos would be like this cosmic eldritch horror that is like super intelligent, but no, it's just a wild animal.
Yeah.
Imagine that. You learn that Cthulhu is real, but it has the intelligence of a dog.
You know,
that's weirdly more terrifying than classical, like, what you'd think Cthulhu is.
Honestly, yeah, and some of that I just thought of. You know how, like, we've talked about, for example, stuff like the sperm episode and the turkey episode, and, like, the way they did their supernatural, like, sci-fi elements was done in a way that, like... Because I remember we talked about this before. The core appeal of Rick and Morty in the beginning was how fantastical and out there and wacky all these sci-fi adventures were. So when you make Earth, which is meant to be the place of normalcy, just as wacky, it kind of detracts from that. Whereas this was done in a way that, like, it can still feel consistent with that, because it's not like this fortune cookie company has always had this monster and that's how it's always been. Like, it's made clear that this monster, like, crash landed to Earth and the woman found it and decided to use its power. It wasn't like, oh, has always been happening for centuries, like stuff like, for example, in the turkey episode or something like that. It was done in a way that's like, yeah, it's still within the realm of believability, because we know that, like, there's a lot of crazy shit out there in space in the world of Rick and Morty. So someone like that crash landing to Earth and someone wanting to harness its power, it makes sense, and it still works within the confines of Earth is the place of normalcy, but every now and again, like, Rick's sci-fi world starts to infect the normal world, and it's good. It's good. I like when it's done like that. I much prefer when it's done like that.
It's like the universe is wacky, And when you combine that with just the world that we have, crazy shit happens, and sometimes it's invisible, but it's definitely there, and we see the consequences, and that's just really cool. Like
Yeah. Again, I don't know who wrote this episode, but like I very much hope that they write more, because like this is a good style for like modern Rick and Morty to go for. Like not just the writing style and like the comedy as well, but like you brought it up about like Rick's character in this episode. This feels like a good way for modern Rick to be handled, because like yeah, he's not the same character he was in season 1 and 2, of course not. Like conscious development has been happening, but it feels like as a result of that, a lot of the time they're not entirely sure how to characterize him, whether they more lean into how he used to be back in the episodes that are more iconic, or trying to incorporate that development, or just going for the whole like Rick and Morty's like that super meta show, right? So let's just lean into meta and then just have Rick be a dick because that's what he always is. Nah, this feels like a good way to characterize a modern Rick. Like whoever wrote this episode clearly seems to like have a handle on what modern Rick and Morty should be, and I really hope that they write more.
I can agree with that. Pretty based.
And next up, I guess we got to talk about that.
No, I'm delaying it. There's one more thing that needs to be talked about.
Right.
If only to escape that for just a few more minutes, or at least one more minute. Speaking of based characters, can we talk about the old man?
Oh my god.
Just tried to fuck an animal, realized he was an idiot, accepted death, knew what had to be done, and allowed it to happen. You cannot get more based than that.
That's one thing I will say. He felt like kind of a weird inclusion. Like I do. Part of me does wonder why he was necessary.
They just wanted to make that one joke. They just wanted him to say, "Well, time to die," and then they just built a whole character around it. Like you know that character was one joke that they wanted to make, and they just made a whole character out of it, and then just happened to make more jokes.
I didn't.
And you know what? I'm here for it.
I didn't dislike him and his presence, but like he feels like the kind of he feels like a summation of the habits that like writers from modern Rick and Morty need to let go of. Like everything else in this episode nailed what modern Rick and Morty should be, except for like him. He feels like the kind of habits that like the writers should try to kick. A character that's just not really
open and shut case.
Like a character that isn't even really a character, but is just a walking joke. Like, I mean, Rick says it himself, like, you're an arch little character, and that's really the only purpose he serves. Like, it can work sometimes, like, within the confines of this episode, it's just fun. But a lot of modern Rick and Morty episodes, they do lean a little bit too hard into that, and those are the kind of habits that the show needs to shake going forth, I think.
I'm not sure. I think like everything, it can be done correctly, and I would not mind if they kept this relatively consistent, as long as it was consistently sparse. You know, like
because that's the thing,
give us a character like this every 3 episodes.
Because that's
but
the
like,
thing. A lot of modern
don't give them like huge roles in the story.
Yeah, because a lot of modern Rick and Morty, you can put them those sorts of characters like and that sort of humor way too much to the forefront. They can lean way too hard into it, and it just ends up being like not even that funny, and ends up like taking you out of the story. Because again, you're not going to get invested in characters if the characters are just walking like things to deliver jokes. Like, it worked in the confines of him because it was a pretty wacky situation, and it
was a really good joke. It was a really good collection of jokes.
And they didn't force him, like, he didn't have a massive presence throughout the episode. He was more just, I guess, window dressing for that scene.
He showed up to die.
Yeah, so I can brush past it. It's just, you know, like I said, like, going forward, future Rick and Morty episodes, like, writers, rather, don't lean too hard into that sort of stuff. I don't know if I put this episode, like, necessarily on par with the best stuff of season 1 and 2, but this kind of thing is the way to do modern Rick and Morty, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else to bring up before we talk about that?
The Panda Express scene was pretty dope.
It was pretty dope, and I will say I did like the joke of, wait, you're not here about a citywide meth operation?
Yeah. Although, I actually did have something. No, I actually do unironically have something. This is just a little thing that I noticed.
Right.
At least one of the people in that Panda Express had an unresolved fortune. That guy was riddled with holes from Rick's gun, and then he just got up and shook his hand.
Oh, maybe that was a little subtle bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah, that was foreshadowing. He had an unresolved fortune, because of course he does. He works at Panda Express. He would have, like, eaten at least one of those fortune cookies, and as a result, he didn't die when he should have. Foreshadowing. Well done, foreshadowing.
Honestly, yeah. Right.
I got nothing left.
Yeah,
That was it. I'm out of ammo.
we gotta rip that band-aid off, man. So let's just get right in. What the fuck is up with all the incest this season, man?
What, like, it's so fucking, like, okay, Bethic Twinstinct was a well done, well written episode. I accept it, but geez, like, and you know, the fucking, like, oh, I wish incest porn had a more mainstream appeal. Like, it was a one off joke. It's fine. It was funny. This just isn't it, Chief. Like,
well, would you say that like if incest had to be implemented for some reason, do you think it was a better implementation in this episode or in Bethic Twinstinct?
Bethic Twinstinct, because this episode doesn't need it to work as a plot.
Well, they're two completely different approaches to it. Like, on the one hand, in Bethic Twinstinct, it's using it to tell a serious story. Like, it's a character.
It's also barely incest. It's more masturbation. Like,
I mean, that's a whole other discussion.
It's a whole thing. Like, and you can find out how that discussion ended in this link.
Whereas, in Final DeSmithnation, like, it's more leaning into like how outlandish and what in the ever living fuck is this thing, because it's like it's in service of a really wacky and ridiculous plot. And like, whereas in Bethic Twinstinct, it's again, like I say, telling a serious story. Whereas here, it's just meant to be like, you know, the shock value humor of the fact, like, okay, what the hell? Why is that in my fortune cookie? And then running with that and taking it to the extreme to just come out with this bonkers plot. And that's why I personally think it was better implemented here. I think if it had to be implemented at all, I'd rather it be in service of just like really wacky and like in service of like how shocking it is to provide laughs, rather than something like Bethic Twinstinct, whereas because it's taken so seriously, it ends up feeling more uncomfortable for me.
I would disagree, if only because uncomfortable does not necessarily mean bad. And no, I say this because, like, in Bethic Twinstinct, the conclusion is that Beth's a fucking narcissist. And Clone Beth is, like, some of her worst traits elevated because this is a Beth who stopped caring. Right. And that tells a really good character-driven story. Here, it's just fucking unnecessary. Like, you could replace "you will fuck your mom" with literally anything else that's bad, and you would have the exact same plot. The writers just really wanted to put incest in the story.
Yeah, and like it's getting to the point where it's reoccurring so much that like if this episode was literally the only episode in this season where that happened, I do not think anyone would be saying anything. And maybe no. Like if you knocked out the incest baby from last season, maybe. Well,
that's the thing. It's okay. I would say, and this is my biggest and I think best argument for this. I would say that this is the worst way to approach it, because if you do this consistently, you are going to get examples like Incest Baby more often than you will get examples like this. When you're not treating it with like any sort of nuance or restraint, you're just throwing it in because you want to have it in there, and that leads to a degradation of writing quality. And granted, this time, it was a pretty good episode, a very funny episode, but the Incest Baby is the alternative, and we could have very easily gotten that instead.
I would argue against that by saying that for me, they feel quite different. In the Sperm episode, the Incest Baby feels like something that was like thrown in right at the end to just be like, isn't this episode so like rude and crude, and isn't it like so gross, and like it was just like it just felt like it was like going way too overboard with the stupidness by just throwing gross and weird things in there. Whereas with this, in this episode, it's certainly like,
more tasteful.
It was like a funny cold open, and then like that's like run with in a way that feels really clever and really creative to create a genuinely really engaging and funny plot. Whereas in the Sperm episode, the Incest Baby feels much more phoned in, and like that feels much more for the sake of it, and that's why to me they feel like very different cases.
Well, no, like that's the thing. They are very different cases, but they have a similar origin in that my point is that this episode does not, like, it's not necessary for the horrible, like, it's just something horrible that's going to happen to Jerry, and he's scared of it. And then Dan Harmon just wanted it to be incest. You can replace incest with like you will break a finger and you'd have the same story. It would be a less funny story, but there are other really funny things to have as a threat to happen to Jerry. He's Jerry. Horrible shit happens to him and it's funny. But like
yeah, it's just making me like brainstorm what else it could have been. Like, I don't know, you will eat a bowl of your own shit or something weird like that.
Well, yeah, like if you want shock value, right? Like you have to like, keep it PG. Although this definitely wasn't PG, but like still, like if you want shock value, there's infinite possibilities. Like you'd only need to brainstorm like roughly 3 minutes, I think, before you get something as effective as incest. And like that's why I compare it to Incest Baby, because Incest Baby could have been anything. It could have been literally anything. Incest Baby did not need to be Incest Baby. They just wanted to throw in something wacky. And this has the exact same origin. They wanted something wacky to make jokes about, and here the jokes landed and it was done tastefully. Incest Baby, not so much, but they're cut from the same stone. They're very differently executed, with one being of much higher quality, but it's still a huge risk when, like, you're not treating the incest with the respect it deserves. And by respect, I mean restraint. When you don't show restraint, you're gonna have more incest babies.
Look, I do very much see your point, how, like, because rather than using it to tell a serious story, it's being used for, like, something wacky to insert into the plot for laughs. How, in that sense, they are cut from the same cloth. But I do think that, my point about how, like, each version is executed is still, like, obviously important to take into consideration. I think if anything, you could look at them as more, like, rather than 2 different approaches, more like 3 different approaches, and like the incest baby style approach being the worst, then how Perfect Twinsting did it, and then how this did it. The fact that we're even debating, like, the fact that we're even debating, like, how well incest was worked into an episode is something that's fucking awful, and I resent this show for it, but there you go. That's Rick and Morty for you.
Can we just... What else was funny about this episode, though? I liked the prototype powers, the prototype fortunes.
That is something that, like, is also really...
I don't know why they're called prototypes, because, like, it's very clear how the fortune system works, so there's no reason to call it prototype. Like,
That's something that I'm really surprised we haven't touched on till now. Like, so much about this episode is just so fucking creative. Like, with the different, like, powers they can get from the fortunes and how they're used. And, like, one thing Rick and Morty does really well is, like, just zany visuals from, like, some shit happening. Like, in the Season 4 premiere, for example, when, like, Morty's got a load of Rick's weapons fighting the bullies and they're just doing all these weird different things to them. Same here with, like, the fortunes and, like, some of the stuff they do and the visual gags they pull off. It's so creative and it works so well for the show. It's so Rick and Morty and it's a joy to watch. Like, guy transforms into a robot dinosaur. He's like, I am the son of God. Like,
and then just runs away and he's just in the world now. The son of God, who canonically looks like that, is in this world now.
Like, that
Jesus Christ has returned and he's a robot dinosaur.
Like, that is classic Rick and Morty right there. That's absolutely brilliant.
You know what? We talked about how terrible it was that the incest baby came back later as a resolution to a later plot. Give me the son of God as a resolution to a later plot. I would be okay with that. Just robot dinosaur son of God comes in, saves the day in the season finale.
So it's
robot dino son of God, lucky charging dino, kills evil Rick.
It's so, like, interesting because, like, I really like this episode despite, like, it's funny, I don't even really have all that much to say other than just the fact that, like, it's really, really funny and, like, the plot is wacky but, like, to its service rather than to its detriment because they run with it in really clever and smart ways when taking it to its extreme with really creative steps to it and really creative, like, visual gags and just creative premises in general. And it's just, I've got a lot of praises to sing for this episode. There's just not all that much to say because they are pretty general. But
yeah, like, it's really funny. The one-liners are really good. If we're going to talk about jokes that were really, really good, Jerry being a human shield and Rick just being upfront about it, hysterical.
Yeah, and I like the fact that, like, that wasn't just like a one... Well, I saw that in the trailer, I was like, oh no, that's kind of cringe, because I thought it was going to be, like, just... That was going to be a one-and-done joke. And the fact that like that they were shooting directly at Jerry but weren't able to hit him was really annoying. But no, there's an actual physical reason for it. Like Rick wasn't just using
It was
Jerry
well done.
It wasn't just Rick using Jerry as a human shield because he was just preserving himself and didn't value Jerry. It was because he knew that when you have an unresolved fortune as a result of these fortune cookies, you are essentially immortal and cannot die until that resolution is solved. Like, that's awesome. That's so creative.
Unresolved fortune. What a stupid fucking like piece of world building in this show. Oh yes, you have an unresolved fortune, therefore you're immortal. That's like someone fucking taking advantage of a Bethesda game's fucking terrible like scripting. Like just it's such a fucking like yes, life is a video game and the coder really did not think this through.
But I mean, like,
it makes sense.
It's really creative, and I love that. I love when Rick and Morty like explores these like bombastic ideas and takes them to their extreme in really clever ways, rather than just, so Morty's sperm is alive and it's like killing people. Lol, please laugh.
Yeah, God, that was such a bad episode.
Oh God, honestly, yeah. But yeah, honestly, I don't think I even have all that much to say. Just like 2 pretty good episodes back to back. I mean, I do like Final DeSmithnation a lot more than Night Family still. That is still the vastly superior episode to me.
It's really funny. I don't know. It's more Rick and Morty, and it's more a sign of what good Rick and Morty is. But I feel like both of them are good for vastly different reasons.
Yeah, that's definitely true. They're not like super.
If you like suspenseful dramas, like The Night Family's great. It's just good.
Whereas if you like wacky, creative, off-the-wall humor, then you're gonna.
Which most Rick and Morty fans would like. They'd go for Final Destination. Yeah, it's just how it fucking like. More people will like this episode because this episode is more Rick and Morty, and it's what people come to Rick and Morty for. So it's like audience selection bias. Like that's just how it works. But also, The Night Family was a good story.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
It was a good story, and even if it's not your cup of tea, it's pretty clear to see, or well, not to us apparently, but like the first time, but it can be pretty clear to see that it's well written.
Yeah, that's an episode that I have a feeling for a lot of people will benefit on rewatch, I reckon. Yeah. Because it definitely did for us.
Yeah, just they seized the day.
So, on the whole, like, rounding off thoughts on Final Destination, like, again, really funny episode, really well written, great character work and character dynamics, amazing jokes, creative gags, creative visuals, super creative ideas and concepts. It's just, the incest stuff, just stop.
He can't keep getting away with it! He can't!
So, we're an hour and a few minutes into the stream, so obviously this is normally where we would end it. However, I would like to propose that since at the end of the first stream, we ranked our favourite season premieres and season finales from best to worst, I think that since we're now halfway through the season, we've concluded episode 5, that we rank each of the episodes of season 6 so far.
Don't make me fucking do this, George. I can't even remember, like, half of the... Okay, hang on. I'm gonna need to pull up a list of the episodes so I can order them in my head.
I'll literally run them through you now. Episode 1, continuing on from the Season 5 finale, Rick and Morty get rescued from the Citadel. Rick Prime is out there. Like, Rick's getting lured back to fight him, but then Morty's like, no, Rick and Morty, 100 years, you know? And, like, Rick goes to the... dimension where he originally lost Diane, and then
the
ghost
we both remember episode 1 perfectly. Like, I'm not that brain dead. Okay, a more well lived. That's what all right. That's there's really not a lot of episodes we've watched. We've really been lacking. Okay, I think I'm good. I got the list in front of me now.
Yeah. So Rick and Morty well lived. Obviously, Morty is trapped in Roy, and like he's splintered across everyone in there. Rick's in there trying to get him out and save him. B plot: Summer doing a Die Hard.
Worst? Are we doing worst to best or best to worst?
So do you? I'm just double checking. You definitely remember like everything, all the A and B.
Yeah, I'm good. I have the list in front of me. I know everything.
Awesome. In that case, you can do best to worst or worst to best. You rank them however you wish.
All right. Worst. This is gonna be hard. Fuck. This is definitely difficult. I don't want to put Night Family at the bottom after all of the praises for it I just sang, but it also just it's really hard to not talk about comedy.
Yeah.
Like, because comedy-wise, Night Family, ass. But also, like, there's so much good in it, and, like, it's not fair. It's such a black sheep that's hard to put it in. Okay.
You don't have to rank it as worst, you can just rank it least good.
Well, yeah, but that's just worst. Like, I'm not as good at gaslighting myself as you are, George. I'm sorry. Fuck it, I'm just gonna go best to worst. This will be easier. Episode 1, best, obviously. You know what? Fuck it. It's my list. A Mort Well Lived, second best.
Really?
Mort Well Lived is fucking delicious for all the reasons I stated in the stream where we reviewed it. Best at no, you know what? A Mort Well Lived, first best.
Nah, you don't believe that. You do
no, I don't. I don't mean that. But no. I will say second. I will say second best. It's my list. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
A Mort Well Lived is second best.
I just didn't expect that, but fair enough.
I would probably put Bethic Twinstinct and Night Family as a tie because they are both relatively similar and have similar approaches to how they approach character development, and they're kind of best. It's almost like one story because Night Family gives us a lot of information that is built off of what is revealed to us during Bethic Twinstinct, like the vying for control, and just like they're both episodes that gives us a look into these characters' minds. I'll put them together as a tie for now. Toss a coin to decide where it is because I need to rewatch Bethic Twinstinct because we technically watched Night Family twice. Wouldn't be fair.
True.
Final DeSmithnation, I would put just above those two. So it goes 1, 2, 5, 3, 4, but 3, 4 are together.
I see. Okay. Again, interesting.
Alternatively, swap 5 and 3, 4 because they are pretty close, and the incest is really weird. But also just going for it, you know.
Really, Final DeSmithnation's on a similar level to Night Family and Bethic Twinstinct for you.
Hey, it's just they're two different brands of Rick and Morty, and if I have to speak completely objectively, I need to highlight the strengths, even if the strengths aren't really stuff that you'd come to Rick and Morty for. Like,
right.
Bethic Twinstinct and Night Family. No, what the fuck am I saying? Bethic Twinstinct is fucking hilarious, especially the ending. But still, like, I have to. Yeah, I'd probably put Bethic Twinstinct. It really might be just maybe Final DeSmithnation and Night Family would be the one that's tied. I don't know. It gets blurry. It gets blurry after 1 and 2. I will admit, it gets real blurry, and that's as I'd have to rewatch all of them to give you a more accurate listing. But for now, right. Bethic Twinstinct and Night Family, similar level, maybe with Bethic Twinstinct barely edging it out, and Final DeSmithnation either being right between them or barely above. I put it above Bethic Twinstinct actually. Final DeSmithnation is still really funny, like, yeah. And I just have to give it that respect.
Right. Okay. Cool. So wait. So what's the order? So episode 1, then
final order for now: 1, 2, 5, 3, 4.
Interesting. Okay. Right. I think
that is very subject to change. In fact, it might change while we're reviewing the next episode, like without even like adding the next episode in. Like,
that's fair.
That list will change 2 seconds from now. Like,
fair enough. Right. Am I going to go from worst to best or best to worst? Fuck it, I'll start with the worst, actually. My least favourite episode of the season so far, and I wouldn't even call it bad, it was just the one that I'm least enthused about, and I have rewatched it multiple times now, and it just doesn't like, excite me all that much. It's Rick and Morty Well Lived, to be
incorrect, but I will let you finish.
Yeah, nah, like, I just didn't find it super funny. I didn't think the A and B plots went like as far and like as deep as they could have done, and like the Die Hard shtick just got really, really old after, like, very quickly. So yeah, that's my bottom for me. Then I'm gonna have to say Bethic Twinstinct, because while it did have its funny moments, and like I actually did really like the ending, like you did. But for a lot of it was just kind of uncomfortable, to be honest. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Next, alright, what we've got left? We've got Night Family, Final DeSmithnation, episode 1. Next, I'm going Night Family. Night Family's next. Then, actually, I'll say from Beffic to Instinct to Night Family is a pretty big jump up. And then from Night Family to my second place, Final DeSmithnation, there's an even bigger jump up in quality.
Yeah.
And then up to episode 1, which is the best. Like, of course it was.
No argument. Like,
there was no
it's
doubt
just...
about that. Is an even bigger jump up in quality. So yeah, my ranking is from worst to best. Episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 1.
That's interesting. 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. I like it. It loops back around.
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
Exactly.
An eternal cycle.
But yeah, so we're about an hour and a quarter in. I think we're ready to round this off. Do you have any closing remarks, Mr. Zarikar?
Oh, well, time to die.
Nice.
I love that fucking scene.
I really rate it. Yeah, I'm just going to round this off by thanking everybody who did join. We've got one concurrent viewer right now, and I don't know who that is, but whoever you are, you're a legend. Thank you.
You're delicious.
And to the people watching when I leave this stream up on the channel, which is where these things get most viewers. It actually does pretty well, like decently well, to a surprising degree. For my channel, at least. And it's Josh. Lovely. Like you said, Josh, based. We love that. But yeah,
we love you, Josh.
So the people like watching after this has been like left up on the channel, like, thank you very much. You're dope, and I very much hope you enjoyed. And to the viewers watching on the archive channel as well. I know that I've been leaving this up on the channel and uploading it to the archive channel anyway. But like, I think once this stream marathon is done, that's when I'll finally remove them all from the channel and just keep them all up on the archive. So yeah, you know what, that's a good point. I didn't have the archive channel in the description, but that's fine. I'll edit it and put that in. Go down to the description, subscribe to the live channel, the archive channel rather. That's where all live streams get posted. I know this one's going to be left up on the channel anyway, but not forever. So the archive channel is where you want to be subscribed to. And also in the description, you'll find a link to Zarek's channel. And obviously, he's one of my best friends. He's an absolute sexy motherfucker. Go check out his channel, show him some love, watch his latest video. And
also, Josh.
Yes.
Look at Josh in the chat. Click on his name right now. He just uploaded, literally right now. I mean, by the time anyone actually watches this, it'll have been like a few days that have passed. But like, as we are speaking, he just uploaded like 10 minutes before we started streaming. So watch his video. It's very based.
Yes, go check out your boy Josh, watch his new video, show the man some love. He is also a very lovely boy. And yeah, we'll be reviewing episode 6 very soon, since it's already out. I'm going to try, because it's the mid-season gap, I'm going to try get a special guest on for that stream, but no guarantees. We're going to see what we can do.
My hands are fucking cold, man. Like, this robe is a lifeline, but it is doing just barely enough.
I'm wearing a dressing gown too, actually. I fucking love dressing gowns and robes and shit. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Very much hope you enjoyed, or for those who are watching on the archive channel, same to you. And we will see you very soon. Goodbye.
I fucking hope we'll see him soon.
I do too, Zarek. I do too.
Disgusting.
That's where the stream ended.
Just disgust.
Alright, stop streaming and